Hi everyone, my name is Elin Duby. In my day job, I am a consultant working around resilience and resilience thinking and sort of collaboration, learning and adapting. But I've been deeply involved with the Muizenberg CAN during the lockdown, and through the Muizenberg CAN, also the Costa da Gama CAN, and we've been supporting Freegrond United for Change, which is the Freegrond CAN. I want to just share a little link in the chat. I'm not going to share my screen, but I'll share a little link in the chat of a blog post that was done recently from one of our volunteers that gives a really nice overview and also a nice diagram. So if you like, you can pull that out as I speak. Okay, so as I said, I'm here representing a number of people. The Muizenberg CAN was, as the other CAN, set up as a response to COVID and the lockdown. And out of the Muizenberg CAN, because of growing need for support, the Costa da Gama CAN was set up as a sort of satellite group. And the Muizenberg CAN is also one of the organizations supporting Freegrond United for Change. And we do that through fundraising, logistics, and administrative support. Freegrond United for Change grew out of the Amavo Uluntu, which is a Muizenberg-based NPC that works to create spaces where you can share individual experiences and participants equip each other with the skills and knowledge to implement their own solutions to the challenges they're facing. So when the lockdown happened, out of the existing work of Amavo Uluntu, a group of volunteers came together and created Freegrond United for Change. So what we've been doing during the lockdown in regards to food aid in Muizenberg, we first focused on food parcels, but for reasons which I'll go on into when I speak about challenges, we had to move on to a community kitchen. The community kitchen is currently serving around 160 people 6 days a week. We set up a satellite kitchen in Costa da Gama, which is now run by the Costa da Gama CAN, that serves around 150 people twice a week. And in Freegrond, the Freegrond United for Change supports 15 kitchens out of about 32 community kitchens in the area. And the other kitchens are coordinated by Where Rainbows Meet. And I see my Moyama is also going to speak later on that. So we have also been lucky to receive a big donation of Wonder Bags from the Wonder Bag company. And though this is not exactly food aid, it's something related to helping communities reduce the cost of cooking. And so, sorry, I think someone's mic is on. Okay, so yes, so those are the key activities that we've been doing. And in Freegrond, that really grew out of a big mapping exercise that was done to map the whole area and then designate mobilizers for each of those areas. And so there was actually a long time spent on really trying to understand what the need was and trying to designate community leaders who would be running this. The key challenges that we've had, I've been in Muizenberg, we initially actually decided that we would go with an approach of direct cash transfers as a way forward to say people can decide for themselves what it is that they need the most, etc. This seemed like a very good way forward, but we realized very quickly when we did the maths that that would need a lot more funds given the number of people who were asking for support in terms of what they would be able to get for the money we would be able to give them, especially as prices were also rapidly rising up in the shops. And there were also concerns from the Freekrond United for Change that cash transfers sent to women in families where there might be alcohol abuse and so on could lead to an increase in domestic abuse. So we reconsidered this and went with food parcels. So we were soon handing out food parcels to about, in total, about 450 people. This was becoming unsustainable as the demand was growing and growing. And we also realized that families from lots of surrounding areas were coming for food parcels because all the surrounding areas were doing food kitchens. So we decided to sit down with the families in Muizenberg, the families who were receiving the support, elected their representatives, and we all sat down in a big meeting and discussed how to move forward. And it was a joint decision together with the families receiving the food parcels that we would move forward with a community kitchen. So that has been a good move forward, even though the number of people dropped off from the people we were supporting. And I think that was because a lot of people were coming from much further away to pick their weekly parcel. And also it is a different thing to be coming to get a cooked meal than to receive a parcel that you can cook at home. So the community kitchen is run by volunteers, and many of those volunteers are also families who are receiving the food aid. And that has been actually a very positive thing in terms of bridging divides in the community and getting to know a lot of the neighbors that we didn't know before. In Costa da Gama, there have been various challenges with finding spaces, finding people to help cook, finding volunteers. Hence, the Costa da Gama can is at the moment only cooking 2 days a week, and have started paying someone who was in need of a job 200 rand a day to cook. So that has been their approach. In Freekrond, some of the biggest challenges has actually been trying to build community cohesion in this time of fear and anxiety. There has been really high tensions in the community, and often not being able to meet in person and having to rely on WhatsApp or Zoom calls has also been very difficult. The communication bit is obviously difficult where people are don't have access have a lack of data or lack of access to devices or even familiarity with online platforms. This is also excluding a lot of people. So that is something that we've experienced in Freekrond United for Change. Also, a sense of lack of access to reliable and current information in formats that are sort of digestible by all, and quite frankly, a solid understanding of what's going on. So there has been a sort of rising tensions in Freekrond, and also much frustration over the lack of city or state support. Through sort of brief research that has been done, it's the fear of the police and the army has often been voiced as more of a concern than the actual fear of the virus at present. So we, the Freekrond United for Change, are been trying to build really strong relationships, trying to build through community representatives and set up a network of community mobilizers and build strong relationships through them. So going forward, for both Muizenberg and for Freekrond, we are really having dialogues at the moment of where does this find us now and how do we move forward and make this something sustainable. We have been lucky to be receiving funding support through the neighboring, through the community in Muizenberg, through friends and family. We've also received funds through a foundation in the UK called the Everyone Matters Fund. We've been lucky to receive support through SA Harvest, who are now supplying us, both Freegrond and Muizenberg kitchens, with staples. And we are receiving support through the Big Food Drive, which is an initiative by Jeremy Lukes, a musician in Muizenberg, who has raised a lot of funds, and he provides us with vegetables on a weekly basis for the kitchens. However, those are not necessarily sustainable in the long term. And the big questions are, of course, for how long can you keep a volunteer-led community kitchen going, or a network of volunteer-led community kitchens going? How do we make the funding support sustainable, and so on? Both for Freegrond and for Muizenberg, there is a vision for creating more of a community resource center that could be offering a space for as community kitchens, but also micro enterprises. And we're also really pushing for a gardening movement. So there's a desire in the longer term to link the idea of the community kitchens with community gardens, where now you're composting the scraps from the community kitchens, and there is an invitation for the community members to come and work. It becomes a central hub for distribution of seeds and seedlings. We have started in a small way in Muizenberg. We have managed to get a small space to start a community garden. In Freegrond, we have been starting in a small way with grow bags for some of the community kitchens. And those grow bags are not necessarily going to grow a lot of vegetables for the kitchens at present in terms of the quantities that they need, but we're hoping that they are at least a sort of inspiration for starting more of a gardening movement in Freegrond. So I think I'm running out of time, but the last little bit I wanted to say was that we have found, both through Muizenberg and Freegrond, that developing deep and ongoing relationships is really the key to enabling this to keep going. We need to build relationships between individuals, communities, and networks involved to build the foundation for sustainable solutions. Specifically to food security, what the group has been discussing, the Muizenberg and Freegrond group together have been discussing, is that we feel a clear understanding of food supply chains should be made very public, so that everyone understands how food is getting to tables and where it's coming from and who is making that possible, and also to enable an understanding of where the injustices lie within that system. And that will enable all the relevant role players to be able to explore how we can then change that. And finally, we've been struggling with the difficulty there is to access land for growing. And there's a big discussion we've been having within all the groups is we really should have access to all the available and vacant land to be setting up community gardens. So, and Great. Thank you so much. And I think I'm running out of time. Yes, thank you.